She's still just as bitter as ever. There's such a great new spin of complaints here. Here's one from her most recent episode, which still on YouTube, she's got like 200,000 subscribers. It's really amazing that now she's been doing this for how many episodes? She's been literally on every podcast of the left wing promoting it. And that's still all she's managed to get. Here she is interviewing.
I couldn't make it on my own, so I needed to take opportunities from someone more deserving. You know, this is how arrogant Joy Reid and Ketanji Brown Jackson and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee are. They're so narcissistic, they think this is persuasive.
This was never meant to go public, but Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk just turned Michelle Obama's day into a 5-alarm PR emergency on live television. One moment she was glowing like a queen, the next, boom, ambushed with verbal flying chairs and constitutional confusion. You won't believe what Charlie said about Michelle's legacy or how Megyn's shade levels reached ultraviolet. From savage jabs to cringe-inducing facts, this wasn't just a takedown, it was an Olympic-level roasting session. And yes, the internet is absolutely losing its mind. Stay tuned, it gets worse.
She went on a podcast called Diary of a CEO. It's kind of rings a bell like a founder kind of situation. And once again, wants you to know how awful it is to be married with children.
There are just many natural reasons why marriage, infertility, trying to have kids makes things difficult. It's like I try to tell couples, of course it's hard. Just listen to what I said, right? Like, it's probably, if you're having some issues in your marriage, it's not you, it's the process of marriage.
Michelle Obama says, until recently, I've mourned the dimming of that hope. And maybe you've experienced the same feelings. Is that a pit in my stomach? A palpable sense of dread about the future? Now, look, Michelle Obama has well-documented anxiety problems. And it's very interesting. When they are not in control of political power, they get anxiety.
Michelle Obama once said that when they go low, we go high. And then she picked the lowest possible moment to launch a podcast, write another book, and slap her own face on every shelf like it's Black Friday in the narcissism aisle. Because if there's one thing more inevitable than a Kardashian rebrand, it's Michelle Obama casually pretending she hasn't been auditioning for the presidency since 2017 while doing everything but slapping a Vote Michelle sticker on her Pilates mat.
I mean, this audience knows she never says anything positive. It is all complaints. So she goes on another podcast. She's promoting her show, so she's making the rounds. The Diary of a CEO podcast, and actually found a way to bitch and moan about how hard it is to live in the White House.
When you walk through a storm, keep your head held high.
Meanwhile, somewhere in a very loud corner of the internet, Megyn Kelly was polishing her sarcasm like a blade, and Charlie Kirk was, well, just being Charlie Kirk. A guy who looks like a stock photo of confused at politics and talks like he swallowed a PragerU video whole.
Michelle Obama, listen to this.
And at this phase of my life, I'm in therapy right now because I'm transitioning. You know, I'm 60 years old. I've finished a really hard thing in my life with my family intact. I'm an empty nester. My girls are in, you know, they've been launched. And now for the first time, as I've said before, every choice that I'm making is completely mine. I now don't have the excuse of, well, my kids need this or my husband needs that or the country needs that. So how do I think about this next phase?
Once again, speaking a reference to her time as First Lady negatively, and I'm transitioning. I mean, an interesting choice of words given how the internet refers to her.
Now, Michelle Obama is not running for president, allegedly. She's not doing any political campaigning, allegedly. She just happens to be doing stadium tours, documentary deals, Netflix specials, and book launches titled The Light We Carry, because subtlety is dead and buried under a pile of ghost-written memoirs. She's out here smiling like a queen returning from exile, but insisting she's just a private citizen. Sure, and Beyonce's just a local singer from Houston.
And it's very interesting. When they are not in control of political power, they get anxiety. And being at the DNC, this for them is church. For them, this was a religious experience.
Till recently, I have mourned the dimming of that hope. And maybe you've experienced the same feelings, that deep pit in my stomach, a palpable sense of dread about the future.
It's so dark. And now she's saying, now I have hope because of Kamala Harris. The apocalyptic undertones of the Democrat Party is dramatic.
Megyn Kelly didn't waste a moment. She came in swinging like someone who's been waiting years for the St. Michel armor to crack. And let's be honest, it's not hard when the Obamas spent 8 years convincing America that arugula, school lunches, and spontaneous dance parties were the bedrock of national security. Remember when Michelle transformed your school cafeteria into a quinoa gulag? Kids went from pizza Fridays to kale trauma in 6 weeks. Childhood ended with one government-mandated celery stick.
Listen to her talking about her 8 years in the White House. SOT 27.
So I'm at this stage in life where I have to define my life on my terms for the first time. So what are those terms? And going to therapy just to work all that out. Like, what happened that 8 years that we were in the White House? What did that do to me?
Yes.
Internally, my soul, we made it through. We got out alive. I hope we made the country proud. My girls, thank God, are whole. But what happened to me?
Oh my God. The utter privilege and how out of touch this person is.
Charlie Kirk, never one to let a spotlight go unbothered, chimed in with the kind of analysis that makes you wonder if he has a secret lab where he grows hot takes in petri dishes. According to Charlie, Michelle Obama's entire public presence is an op designed to prep America for the Obama's second coming. He's convinced that every cardigan she wears is code, every speech a soft launch, and every podcast a test balloon for political resurrection. And you know what? He might have a point. Because when someone says they're not interested in politics while simultaneously dominating every media platform like an influencer on Red Bull, it starts to look suspicious. But Michelle's greatest trick? Convincing half the country she's too dignified for politics while simultaneously acting like politics is her side hustle. She's out here preaching unity while subtly roasting conservatives with all the grace of a Sunday sermon and the passive aggression of a group text from your ex. She's not just selling inspiration, she's upselling it, packaging it and releasing it in 4 formats with an accompanying Hulu deal. By next year, we'll have a Michelle Obama candle line called Hope and Eucalyptus.
One side note on Michelle Obama, can we just note how overrated she is? And like all the hype around Michelle Obama, oh, she's going to run for office, and she's just, I don't want to get into the aesthetics of all of it, but the presentation of her
and the media eats it up. Every time Michelle breathes near a microphone, 1,000 journalists faint like it's 2008 again. They cover her target runs like they're UN peace missions. Meanwhile, if Melania Trump shows up in public wearing sunglasses, she's either plotting a coup or communicating with aliens. Megyn Kelly doesn't buy any of it. To her, Michelle Obama is just another media-manufactured monolith, carved out of polished talking points and nostalgia. And she's not wrong, because for someone who supposedly hates politics, Michelle seems awfully addicted to the applause that comes with political proximity. She says she's done with the White House, but her calendar says otherwise. Every event is a victory lap. Every interview a soft political jab dressed in empathy and cardigans. Charlie Kirk, ever the political bloodhound, says Michelle's playing 5D chess while everyone else is stuck on Candyland. According to him, she's laying the groundwork for a 2028 run disguised as a lifestyle tour. And while that may sound ridiculous, let's not forget this is the same country that elected a reality TV star after watching him fire people on national television for a decade. Stranger things have happened. Like that time Michelle made Brussels sprouts cool for 5 minutes. But let's take a minute to appreciate how Michelle Obama weaponized wellness. She took self-care, turned it into a TED Talk, added a few tears, and built an empire. Her brand is a kale smoothie blended with Beyoncé lyrics and sprinkled with Oprah's endorsement. She makes mediocrity look like a masterclass. You eat your feelings, Michelle monetizes hers with a podcast deal and a 7-figure advance.
2 of them together, I haven't even counted her husband's riches. They're definitely billionaires by now. The house in Martha's Vineyard, which is, I think, $20 million out on the yachts of David. What happened to me? Why doesn't anyone think about what happened to me during my... I'm enraged. I'm almost speechless at how ridiculous.
Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly's not having it. She's seen the Michelle hype train before, and she's not interested in buying a ticket. She's the kid pointing out that the emperor has no clothes, or in this case, that Michelle has a stylist, a speechwriter, and a strategic PR machine spinning faster than a fidget spinner at a middle school talent show. Let's not forget Michelle Obama's memoirs, yes, plural, because her story is so rich it couldn't fit in just one book. Next up, Becoming Even More, followed by Becoming Forever, and eventually Becoming the Presidency You Deserve. Each one will come with a deluxe boxed set including a reusable tote bag, a scented candle, and a QR code for a 10-minute guided meditation narrated by Barack. And while Michelle is out here talking about hope, Megyn's talking about hype. She's pointing out that you can't preach humility while accepting $500,000 0-cent speaking gigs and then complain that America is too obsessed with celebrities. That's like eating a whole cake and then criticizing people for using sugar. Michelle's strategy is simple. Never say what you mean and never mean what you say. Just smile, hug a child, mention hope, and vanish in a puff of lavender-scented virtue. And the crowd goes wild. Because if there's one thing the American public loves more than a celebrity, it's a celebrity who pretends not to be a celebrity. Michelle isn't just America's sweetheart. She's America's strategic silence wrapped in Spanx and charisma.
On a great subject, which is like these rich and powerful people who are totally unaware of how people perceive them and how great their lives are and how little they should be complaining, period, never mind publicly. Which leads me to Michelle Obama. Every day she's dropped another negativity bomb on us, whether on her podcast or on someone else's.
Charlie Kirk, on the other hand, is shouting from the back row like a guy who got kicked out of the prom and is still holding the corsage. He's desperately trying to convince America that Michelle is the Trojan horse of liberal elitism, smuggling in policies between podcast episodes. But honestly, he's not wrong. Michelle's been more influential out of office than most politicians are in it. She's got the reach of a president without the accountability. It's influence without office, power without responsibility, and applause without questions. And don't get started on her Netflix deals. But Michelle's real superpower? Saying absolutely nothing while making it sound profound. She'll give a 45-minute speech and by the end you'll be clapping without knowing what she actually said. She's the human equivalent of a Hallmark card dipped in affirmations. You leave inspired, confused, and slightly poor if you bought the merch. Megyn Kelly's not falling for it. She's been in the media long enough to smell a branding campaign masked as moral leadership. She knows when someone's selling empowerment like it's a new skincare line. And Michelle's selling it hard. Speeches, books, courses, probably scented affirmation pillows in the works. By 2026, we'll be watching The Michelle Method on HBO Max, narrated by Morgan Freeman and produced by Reese Witherspoon.
Whining all the time and she's complaining. Right, again, I'm not trying to look in people's looks. That's not what I'm doing. I'm just saying the whole aura of it, to use a Gen Z term, is terrible. It's negative. It's just kind of her lamenting.
And still, Michelle insists she's not political, that she's just being herself. Yeah, and pandas just happen to be cute without trying. This woman is so curated she makes Gwyneth Paltrow look like a DIY blogger. Nothing is accidental. Every tweet, every tour stop, every half smile at Ellen's housewarming party is a calculated masterstroke of reputation management. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk is drawing diagrams on napkins like he's mapping out a conspiracy board. He'd accuse her yoga instructor of being a campaign strategist if he could find proof on a wiki page. And let's not forget the pedestal Michelle is permanently installed on. The media doesn't report on Michelle Obama. They canonize her. She walks into a room and suddenly it's like the clouds part and baby bald eagles start chirping. You'd think she cured cancer and invented empathy in one day while sipping a matcha latte. But let her say something vaguely political and suddenly the media clutches its pearls, like she committed high treason by having a thought.
They both have planes, and she's mad that you have to pay the cost of an airline ticket for the daughters to fly on them.
I wonder, seriously, she's a smart woman.
But she's aggrieved. She is immersed in a powerful and inescapable sense of grievance.
Megyn Kelly, never one for pearl clutching unless she's slapping someone with them, rolls her eyes so hard they practically orbit. She sees through the aw shucks routine faster than you can say media darling. She knows the Obama brand is too well oiled, too polished, and too profitable to be accidental. Michelle didn't stumble into this. She PowerPoint presented into it, with bullet points and matching heels. Even Michelle's clothing choices spark columns, tweets, and podcast episodes. If she wears a sleeveless dress, it's a revolution. If she wears a suit, it's a TED Talk. Meanwhile, if Megyn Kelly wears white after Labor Day, it's a Fox News segment. The double standard isn't just glaring, it's blinding. Charlie Kirk is practically pacing at this point, fueled by cold brew and righteous frustration. He's trying to explain that Michelle Obama is not just an ex-first lady. She's a stealth candidate with a better marketing team than Apple. Her no thanks to politics is the most polite lie ever told. And somehow the nation keeps buying it like it's Girl Scout cookies for democracy. The fact still remains that Michelle Obama will continue to glide above the political fray, delivering polished lines with flawless hair and curated compassion. She'll keep smiling like she's never heard of Congress while influencing half the nation's social priorities. And Charlie Kirk will keep screaming into the void, hoping someone finally connects the dots between book tours and ballot boxes.
She's angry. She's angry and unhappy. I've watched enough of her over the years, and then with this ridiculous podcast she's trying to launch, to see she's a deeply unhappy person.
She's obviously, there's problems with her daughters and all that. I don't want to get into that. But we built up on the right. Michelle Obama is going to be the hardest person ever to run against. And her book sold so many copies. And my goodness, you want to talk about the most overrated political hype of a generation? It would go to Michelle Obama.
Megyn Kelly, ever the skeptic in heels, will sip her coffee, smirk into the camera, and remind everyone that behind every inspirational quote and matching cardigan is a political machine wearing lip gloss. Michelle isn't running, but she's sure sprinting around the truth like it's an obstacle course made of inspirational Instagram captions. Because when Michelle Obama says she's not interested in politics, it's like Jeff Bezos saying he's not into money. The receipts, unfortunately, are louder than the speeches. So while Michelle Obama keeps floating above it all, pretending she's just here to sprinkle a little hope and hummus on your soul, the rest of us are watching the most elegant political chess game in history, disguised as a podcast tour. Megyn Kelly sees it, Charlie Kirk screams it. And yet, Michelle just keeps smiling, selling, and soaring, without ever officially saying a word about 2028. But let's be honest, if branding was a ballot, she'd already be president of everything.